Welcome to the Daily AI News, brought to you by the Day After AI News channel.
Today, February 24, 2026.
A pretty chaotic mix today. I mean, we have sources covering everything from the microcosm of your facial muscles,
Right.
all the way up to the macro level of city infrastructure.
Yeah, we've got the scary movie, right?
Yeah.
With a report on bosses using AI to track not just keystrokes, but your actual facial expression, which is just wow.
Yeah.
Then we have the action movie, drones hunting other drones in military zones, AI redesigning the streets of Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And then, strangely, we have a musical with AI generating playlists and creating samples for producers.
I know it sounds like a mess, but there actually is a very strong through line here if you look closely.
Which is
Agency. We are really seeing a shift today. We aren't just talking about, what is the new chatbot anymore.
well, the chatbot phase is kind of over.
Exactly. We are looking at AI appearing as an active, autonomous participant in the physical world. It's managing our city infrastructure, watching us work. It's collaborating in the studio.
So it's doing things,
Yeah.
not just saying things.
Yes. And the mission for this deep dive isn't just to gawk at the tech. It's to answer the question, if AI is becoming an agent, how do we manage it before it starts managing us?
That is the big question. So let's start with the segment that I think will probably raise the most blood pressure among anyone listening right now.
Oh, absolutely.
The Panopticon workplace. We have a report from Cyber News with a headline that is just straight up nightmare fuel. AI bosses are watching you. Employee tracking explodes.
Yeah, this comes from a recent parliamentary inquiry down in Australia, and what they found is that workplace surveillance has moved way, way beyond just checking if you're logged in or, green on Slack.
Right, because I think most people assume that if you work in a secure facility, someone knows when you badge in. That's standard.
Sure.
But this report details something much more invasive. They mentioned finance workers having their physical location tracked constantly,
Mm-hmm.
nurses having biometrics collected. But the one that really stopped me in my tracks was the remote work aspect.
You mean the tattleware?
Is that what we're calling it? Tattleware.
That's the industry slang, yeah.
Well, it fits.
Yeah.
Because the report says they are analyzing facial expressions via webcam to infer emotional states. Just pause on that for a second.
That's intense.
How does that even work technically? Because, my webcam is grainy at best.
It's a branch of AI called affective computing. The software maps micro-expressions on your face, so a furrowed brow, a lack of eye contact, maybe the corner of a lip turning down.
Okay.
And it tries to correlate that physical movement with an emotional state, like boredom or focus or frustration.
That sounds incredibly dystopian. And also, frankly, just prone to error. If I'm frowning, I might be focusing really hard on a spreadsheet. I'm not angry at the company.
Right.
Or maybe I just have a headache.
That is exactly the problem. The context is entirely missing. And the Cyber News piece highlights research from MIT that is pretty damning for this entire industry.
What did they find?
The findings show that simply deploying this monitoring software does not enhance productivity. In fact, it often tanks it completely.
Which feels totally counterintuitive to the managers buying this stuff, right?
Exactly.
Because the logic is usually, if I watch them, they'll work harder. It's that old panopticon idea. If you think you're being watched, you behave.
It's the old logic, yes. It's what the source actually calls a Taylorist nightmare.
Taylorist. Remind me on that one.
Frederick Winslow Taylor. He was the father of scientific management back in the early 20th century. He was the guy standing over factory workers with a stopwatch,
Oh, right. Timing every bolt turn.
timing every single movement to maximize efficiency. He basically treated humans like components in a machine.
Okay, so this is just digital Taylorism.
Precisely. But here's the catch. Taylorism worked for mechanical, repetitive tasks. If you move the shovel faster, you move more coal.
Sure.
It does not work for cognitive or creative work. When you apply that level of surveillance arbitrarily to knowledge workers, the source notes that the performance of your top employees actually falls by around 17%.
17%. That is a massive drop for your absolute best performers. Why does that happen?
It's psychological. The inquiry found that this creates an immense power asymmetry. When you feel watched, you stop taking risks, you stop innovating, you just perform busyness.
You jiggle the mouse.
Yeah, you jiggle the mouse, so the software thinks you're working.
So you're not actually doing work, you're performing the act of working for the algorithm.
Exactly. You are managing the surveillance rather than doing your actual job. And there's another study mentioned in the stack from Central South University in China that makes a really critical distinction here.
What's that?
They compared Using AI to augment work versus using it to cut costs or monitor.
And I assume the results are pretty different.
Night and day. If the AI is there to help you, say, to automate the boring data entry so you can actually think productivity goes up, but if it is there to count your keystrokes, the improvements vanish.
So it's about trust.
It is. Trust is actually an economic asset. If you burn it with surveillance, you literally lose money.
There was one other concept from the Kellogg School of Management that I wanted to touch on before we leave this topic. They called it the Inequality cascade. That sounds heavy.
It is a long-term view. Think about it this way. In this new workplace, some employees get access to the good AI.
The tools that make them faster.
Right. The tools that make them smarter. Others, and usually these are lower-wage workers, only get the bad AI, the surveillance tools.
So one group is getting superpowered, and the other group is getting handcuffed.
Correct. And over 5 or 10 years, that gap compounds. The watched workers lose agency and skill because they are being micromanaged by a machine. Meanwhile, the augmented workers gain value and capability. It creates a structural gap in the workforce that is very, very hard to close.
So the takeaway for any managers listening to this deep dive is pretty clear. Don't buy the spyware, buy the tools that help your team.
Or at least, if you do buy the tools, ask yourself, is this for support or is it for control? Because the data clearly says control doesn't pay off.
Let's pivot. Speaking of control, let's move from the digital eye in the office to the digital eye on the street. We're moving to the physical world now, and we are starting in Boston.
Yes, Boston.
Statescoop is reporting that Boston has opened an AI-powered curb lab. Now, I have to admit, when I saw curb management in the show notes, my eyes glazed over a little bit. Why should we care about the curb?
I know, it sounds totally mundane, but think about the curb for a second. That strip of concrete between the sidewalk and the street is arguably the most contested real estate in a modern city.
I guess so. You've got delivery trucks, Uber drop-offs,
Outdoor dining.
stops, bike lanes.
And usually they are all fighting for the exact same 10 feet of space. The source notes that for 40 years, the data on this parking rules, loading zones, has been trapped in disconnected systems.
Right.
A sign on a pole says one thing, a painted line says another, and the GPS in the delivery truck says a third.
So it's chaos. It's analog chaos.
Exactly. And Boston is trying to fix this by using the curb data specification from the Open Mobility Foundation.
This sounds like a technical standard.
It is. Think of it as an API for the street, an application programming interface. They are creating a real-time digital inventory of every single inch of curb space.
So digitizing the physical rules of the city so computers can read them.
Yes. And then they're using AI to analyze how that space is actually being used, not just how it's zoned on paper. The goal is to reduce cruising.
Cruising, like driving around with the windows down.
Not exactly. In urban planning, cruising is when a delivery truck circles the block 3 times looking for a loading zone because the designated spot is taken by a passenger car.
Oh, okay.
That cruising adds massive amounts of emissions and congestion. If the AI can predict usage and manage that inventory dynamically, you smooth out the flow of the entire city.
It's interesting because it's invisible tech. You don't see a robot walking down the street, but the street itself is becoming intelligent.
Exactly. It is infrastructure acting as an agent of organization. It's the city waking up.
Now, while Boston is using AI to organize trucks, we have a much more intense example of AI in the physical world coming from defense industry Europe.
Right.
This is about organizing, well, threats.
Yes, this is the JRMAR system, unveiled by Dale Defense.
Named after the watchdog of Nordic mythology.
Subtle. The defense industry loves a good mythological reference, but the tech here is significant. This is a mobile counter-UAV system.
Counter-drone.
Right. We've talked about drone warfare before, but this is specifically about the shield.
And it's not just jamming signals, right? It's not just electronic warfare where you blast radio waves.
No. Electronic jamming is great, but some modern drones are hardened against it, or they fly autonomously without a signal to jam at all.
So what does it do?
Garmar actually launches interceptor drones.
It fights fire with fire.
Literally. For short-range threats, it launches cicada drones. These are fascinating. They can use capture nets to physically snag a hostile drone out of the air.
A capture net. Like Spider-Man.
In a way, yeah.
Huh?
It's highly effective for minimizing collateral damage in urban areas, because if you shoot a drone down with a bullet, the bullet has to land somewhere.
Right, gravity.
But if you catch it in a net, you control the descent. Now, for medium-range threats, it has other kinetic interceptors, essentially drones designed to just collide with the threat.
The key detail here for me was the AI's role. Why do you need AI for this? Why not just have a guy with a joystick looking at a screen?
Speed. It's all about the OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. In modern drone swarms, the attack happens way faster than a human brain can process. If a swarm of 10 drones comes over the hill at 100 miles per hour, a human operator cannot track and target them all fast enough.
So the AI has to make the decision to launch.
It detects, classifies, and recommends the engagement instantly. The system is designed to handle everything from small commercial multicopters up to military-grade threats like the Shash-HED or Lancet drones.
It really highlights the arms race aspect. We have AI swarms attacking, so now we need AI swarms defending.
That is the reality. We are moving toward machine speed warfare. It's a sobering thought, but it connects right back to that theme of agency, machines reacting to machines.
Okay, that is heavy. Let's pivot to something a little more constructive. We've had the scary surveillance and the intense defense tech. Let's talk about how this technology is scaling to actually help people learn and work.
Good idea.
We have a fascinating story out of India regarding education.
This is a massive rollout reported by the India Education Diary. The Bharti Airtel Foundation has partnered with the CK12 Foundation.
And the numbers here are staggering. They are reaching over 200,000 educators.
And likely impacting millions of students. They are integrating over 45 AI tools into a platform called the Teacher app.
Now, I always get a little skeptical when I hear AI in schools because often it just means we gave the kids iPads and fired the librarian. Is this different?
It is different. The framing here is very specific and quite thoughtful. They are calling these assistive layers. The goal isn't to replace the teacher or even to just tutor the student directly. The goal is to fix the workflow of the teacher.
So dealing with the bureaucracy of teaching.
Exactly. Lesson planning, grading, finding resources, creating localized content. In India, with its immense linguistic diversity, simply finding high-quality STEM content in a specific local dialect can be a huge hurdle.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
The AI handles that translation and resource retrieval instantly.
It sounds like it's trying to free up the human to do the human part, the actual mentoring.
That is the explicit goal. They call it meaningful digital engagement. Look, if an AI can save a teacher 5 hours of paperwork a week, that is 5 hours they can spend one-on-one with struggling students. It's a force multiplier for the human element. Speaking
of force multipliers, let's look at the corporate side. We have a story from PR Newswire about a company called Typewise. They're launching something called a multi-agent orchestration engine.
Right.
Now, agent is a buzzword we hear constantly. What does this actually mean in plain English?
So the problem right now is that a lot of companies are trying to build AI customer service bots, and they are failing.
Why are they failing? We have ChatGPT. Surely it can answer a customer email.
You can answer an email.
Yeah.
But can it process a refund, check the warehouse inventory, update the CRM, and flag a shipping error all at once?
Probably not without making something up.
Exactly. When you try to make one brain or one model do everything, it gets confused. It hallucinates. So Typewise is introducing an AI supervisor engine.
An AI middle manager.
Effectively, yes, but a useful one. It orchestrates a team of specialized agents.
How does that work?
Imagine a virtual room. You have a specialist agent that handles the conversation. It's the charmer. You have a knowledge agent whose only job is to look at facts in the database. And you have an action agent that actually clicks the buttons in Salesforce.
So it breaks the job down just like you would with a human team. You wouldn't hire one person to be the receptionist, the accountant, and the warehouse manager.
Precisely. And the supervisor directs traffic. If the customer asks for a refund, the supervisor tells the action agent to wake up and do it.
And is this hard to build? Do you need a huge team of engineers?
That's the real innovation here. It's no code. They claim you can build these workflows using plain natural language. They mention a health and lifestyle brand called Borer using this to triage inquiries.
Triage is a great word for it.
It routes the easy stuff to the bots and crucially detects when a case is too complex and routes it to a human.
So again, it's that theme of management. We aren't just building smart bots anymore. We are building organizational structures for them.
And that structure is what allows it to scale safely without the AI going rogue and promising free cars to everyone.
Which has definitely happened.
Oh, it absolutely has.
All right, let's get to the fun part, the soundtrack of 2026. Music is getting a massive AI update today. First up, Spotify.
Yes. Gadget Guy is reporting that Spotify is launching prompted playlists in Australia tomorrow, February 25th.
They already rolled this out in the US and Canada, right? I've played with it a bit. You can type in a prompt like Australian anthems for grand final day or pump up dance tunes for a running club.
But here is the technical twist. It is not just a keyword search. If it were just keywords, everyone would get the exact same list. It's using a large language model to understand the vibe of your prompt and then cross-referencing that with your personal listening history.
So if you and I both type in sad rainy day music,
Yeah.
we get completely different playlists.
Exactly. Yours might be 90s grunge and mine might be classical cello. It is hyper-personalization meeting generative AI, and they can be set to update daily or weekly.
That is clever. It keeps you locked into the ecosystem because the playlist is basically alive. It changes.
Yeah.
But for the people actually making the music, we have news from music business worldwide about a startup called Just For Noise.
This one is really for the producers out there. It's a text-to-sample generator. They just raised $1 million, backed by BDideas.fund and SoundHub Denmark.
Explain the pain point here. Why does a producer need this? Don't they already have massive libraries of sounds?
They do, but that's actually the problem. If you are making a beat and you want a specific sound, say a dusty lo-fi snare drum with a metallic ring, you have to dig.
Right.
You go to Splice or your hard drive and you audition thousands of files. Click, listen, no. Click, listen, no.
It's the needle in the haystack problem.
Yeah.
And it completely kills the creative vibe.
Exactly. Just For Noise changes the paradigm from search to summon. You type that exact description, and the AI generates a unique, royalty-free sample instantly. You just drop it right into your digital audio workstation.
Summoning sound. That is a really powerful concept.
The founder, Max Schaefer, basically said the goal is to keep the producer in the flow state. Don't stop to search, just create.
And finally, in the music world, we have a major corporate move involving Suno. For anyone who doesn't know, Suno is one of the big heavyweights in AI music generation. They create full songs from text prompts.
And this is a very significant business signal. Digital Music Week reported that Jeremy Sirota has joined Suno as Chief Commercial Officer.
Why does that specific hire matter? It sounds like just another corporate shuffle.
It matters because of who Jeremy Sirota is. He was the CEO of Merlin.
And what is Merlin?
Merlin is the digital licensing giant for the independent music sector. They represent thousands of indie labels. They are the ones who fight for fair royalties from streaming services.
Wait, so the guy who spent his career defending indie artists and copyright is now joining the AI company that many artists are terrified of.
Exactly. It's a Nixon goes to China moment.
That signals a massive shift. I mean, Suno recently partnered with Warner Music Group, too.
It does. For a long time, the narrative was AI versus the music industry. This hire suggests that the new reality is AI is the music industry. Sirota isn't going there to destroy copyright. He's likely going there to figure out how to monetize it and build bridges.
He had a quote about this, right?
Yes, he talked about shaping a future where music is interactive. He said people will actively play with music rather than just listening to it.
Which brings us right back to Spotify's prompted playlists. The line between listener and creator is getting very blurry.
That is the trend. Consumption is becoming participation.
So bring it all together. It's been a wide-ranging day. We've got bosses analyzing our faces to see if we're bored.
Yeah.
We've got Boston digitizing its curbs to manage trucks. We've got drones hunting drones with nets. We've got AI teachers in India, AI supervisors in customer service, and Spotify curating our reality.
It is a lot to take in, but if you zoom out, that common thread we mentioned at the start is visible in every single story.
The shift to agency.
Yes.
There.
In the workplace, on the street, and in the studio, AI is moving from being a passive tool, something you pick up and use like a hammer, to an agent.
Right.
It is acting on its own. It's watching, it's intercepting, it's curating, it's orchestrating.
That is slightly unsettling, but also undeniably exciting.
It raises the final question I'd leave you with today. Think about it. If Spotify curates your mood, and the Curb Lab curates your parking, and an AI supervisor curates your work tasks, are we becoming the managers of our lives, or are we just becoming the passengers?
That is something to think about on your commute home, assuming your car isn't driving itself yet. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Before you go, please subscribe to the podcast Prime. And if you enjoyed today's episode, hit like to support us. Thanks for listening and see you next time.